Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 162. Stop trying to lose weight. How dare I say that to you? What do you mean stop trying to lose weight? This is going to be a really important episode because it's the difference between losing weight for life and losing weight for a little while again. The vast majority of people who have weight to lose will go on a diet and try to lose weight, right? And you might think, well, what's wrong with that? That's what everybody does. That's the way it's always been done. Yes, and that's the reason that there are no exact facts or figures for this, I don't think, but it is close to 90%. It must be something between I don't know. I'm going to say somewhere between 83 to 87% of people who lose weight do not keep it off. Now, when I had this discussion with someone today about weight loss medications who I'm working with many people on medications, and I keep explaining to them, I know 95% of people on medications do not keep the weight off, but here is why that happens, and this is what you are not doing. You have the chance of being in the 5%. When I throw percentages and figures like that around, I'm not doing it to shock people. I'm doing it to state facts. I'm sure 85%, somewhere around there, is a number to go with this. It's not to shock. It's to let you know that here are the statistics and here is what those people are doing to become that statistic. I'm not getting any medications in this. Don't distract me. High 80% of people will put weight back on again. Not because that's just how it works, not just because 80% of people or 85% of people are unlucky, but it's because of the way that you are losing weight. Most people fixate on the outcome, not the cause. Trying to lose weight is a key driver behind why you keep having weight to lose, right? Most people understand money. I've used this example in the past. It is so transferable and so easy to understand, right? So this money analogy, people tend to understand finances better than their bodies or how weight loss and weight gain works. We all know someone. We might be that someone. We might have been that someone in the past. I was once upon a time, many, many years ago, in my 20s, who was in debt. Now, it doesn't have to be a massive amount of debt. I think I was in about 22k of debt way back when. Credit cards, store cards, a computer on finance, whatever else was going on. Juggling balances, can't get out of overdrafts, transferring things all the time. The problem, never really getting fixed. Okay? So we all know someone like that who, always seems to be on holiday, has a nice car, always seems to have nice clothes, but what we don't know is what's going on behind the scenes. I have literally just gone through this with a friend of mine who revealed to me that he is in a lot of debt, and I would not have known, would never have known. Successful guy, great job, also very good at spending, which ties in nicely with this, right? Money problems are not money problems. They are spending behavior problems, right? If you have debt because you created that debt. If you have body fat to lose, you have body fat to lose because you created that body fat. Trying to fix the outcome of anything without trying to fix the problem that leads to the outcome is a waste of time because it will not last. This is why dieting your weight down while ignoring the reasons your weight got to where it was is a waste of time. It is why 80% of people go back to the beginning again. They try to bypass the work and just get the result. Now, coming back to the debt thing. So let's say someone is in 30 grand of debt and they have been for a long time. They can't seem to get out of it, but they can't seem to get out of it because they're not changing the things that matter. They're transferring balances, trying to avoid interest, taking out consolidation loans, they're doing whatever they can to fix that side, but that's them trying to make the number come down. That's them trying to change the 30k. In the same way that someone pisses around with diets trying to change their weight from 15 stone. You get a little bit of relief, you get some glimpses of hope. You get some brief moments of what you might consider to be success, but you're not fixing anything long term. Now, imagine a rich relative steps in and says, Jason, how bad is it? Oh, Gran, it's 30k. No matter what I do, I just can't get out of it. If I could just get back to normal, if I could just get out of this, everything would be fine. And they say, okay, son, I'm going to help you out. Here's a check. And they give you 31 grand. And you say, thank you very much. And you go cash the check, right? What has changed? Think about it logically. What has changed about this situation? The one and only thing that's changed is that person's, I nearly said wait, that person's debt has been reset. Now what? How does that person now live without debt? They don't know how to live without debt. They don't even know how to live within their means. They're making a few grand a month and they're spending 4 grand a month. They're going on holidays they can't afford. They're putting them on credit cards. They're used to travelling. They're used to going to Costa 5 days a week on the way to work. They're used to eating out Friday, Saturday night. And it's not just a meal, it's a meal plus drinks plus sides, then going out for cocktails afterwards. That person has developed a way of living that far exceeds their financial means, which is why they were having to spend on a credit card in the first place, right? They were using it to fund their lifestyle. When we bring it back to eating, and I guess we can bring medications into this because medications, they kind of make it, medications are a bit like the relative stepping in to pay off the debt, right? It's that outside help that helps you achieve the thing. So, yeah, the person who's now had their debt cleared is still the same person. What does that person do immediately after having that debt cleared? Like, they don't go out and intentionally try to get back into debt. They keep going to Costa. They keep buying nice clothes. They keep booking holidays. They keep driving a car that they're paying $1,000 a month to PCP for. They don't change. Now, because they have not changed in a person, what starts happening immediately? The debt starts to go back up. Not deliberately, not because they're waking up every day saying, how can I get myself into debt today? But it just happens as a result of them being who they are. Now, all of that is 100% transferable to your body, to your weight. I could wave a magic wand right now and take you from 15 stone to 9 stone. Amazing. But there's a problem. You do not know how to live like a 9 stone version of yourself. 9 stone you compared to 15 stone you needs far less calories each day. They need much more fruits and vegetables. They need more protein, more fibre. They need better sleeping habits, better activity habits, less scrolling habits. Their idea of the 9 stone version of you's idea of a takeaway will be different from the 15 stone version of you versions of a takeaway. Sorry, that was not a great way to word that. 15 stone you orders a takeaway and eats the whole thing. 9 stone you won't be able to do that. 15 stone you goes out for a night out drinking, starting with pre-drinks in the house, then a takeaway, then a drinks at a friend's, then you get a taxi into town and you drink, maybe you drink pints of lager, pints of cider, maybe you drink cocktails, then maybe you grab a takeaway on the way home. 9 stone you will never be able to do that. That's not the sort of thing that a 9 stone version of you could sustain. So I could wave that magic wand. I could change your weight to the weight that you've always dreamed of, but you will not be equipped to live there. You would be living in a body that you do not know how to look after. Because if you were supposed to be 9 stone, you would be 9 stone. You are the weight that you are right now because that is the weight that you are supposed to be. Weight is not something that happens by accident. It's not bad luck. It didn't happen without you doing anything. It's an outward, mostly, I'm not saying it's a very difficult thing to pin down. Ultimately, yes, you have to do the things to gain the weight, but it's not as simple as that because you are a complex and emotionally intelligent human being with stresses, with life going on, with unhelpful eating habits, with hormones, with all these things. So it's unfair to lay 100% responsibility at a person's feet. However, you have still had to do the things to gain the weight. But bring it back to the debt thing. You do not wake up every day and say, how can I eat thousands of calories today? How can I make sure that my weight is going to go up by 10 pounds over the next 2 months? You do not wake up every day and try to gain weight in the same way that the person does not wake up every day and try to get into debt. It just happens as a result of you being you. So it doesn't matter if somebody clears your debt. It doesn't matter if somebody waves a magic wand and takes you to your dream weight. If you have not changed the underlying reasons behind why you got into that situation in the first place, you will immediately start to take your body back to that same weight. Debt always comes back. It always does, because the person didn't change their spending habits. Weight always comes back because the person didn't change their eating habits, their emotional connection to food, their impulsive decisions, the way that they use alcohol, their coping mechanisms. So this is why I said at the very beginning, stop trying to lose weight. Because have you noticed this? Right, let's do a little, not a game, but let's just do a little exercise. I want you to think back all those years to the very first time that you tried to lose weight. Now, this will not work with everyone, but it will probably work with the majority of you. Think back 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, whatever it is, to the very first time you went to Slimming World, to Weight Watchers, to the first time you did one of those 20-time photocopied things that got handed round the office diets, like whatever it was you did. What weight were you back then? 9, 10, 11 stone? Did you even have weight to lose? Now let's fast forward to today. You have decades probably of yo-yo dieting behind you. You've went from plan to plan to plan, or you've kept going back to the same one. Are you the same weight you were back then, or are you now heavier? If you're heavier, how much heavier are you? The reason I said that was most people I work with tell me that they wish they could go back to the same weight they were when they first started dieting. They wish they could go back to 1998 and say, don't do it. Do not walk into that Slimming World class. It is going to be the beginning of your weight climbing by 3 stone 20 years down the line. People try so hard at losing weight that they make their weight go up. Not because they're doing anything wrong, but because they're following things that make that happen. I wish I had facts and figures for this, but based on my professional opinion and experience, Slimming World is helping people gain weight, not lose it. Weight Watchers is helping people gain weight, not lose it. Giving them these short, brief glimpses of success, quote unquote, where their weight goes down, but fucking up the relationship with food along the way so that their weight goes back quicker than ever because their eating habits are worse than ever. And so they rush back to Slimming World for safety and comfort and to get the scales down again. And this, it goes on and on. This is why you need to stop dieting. Dieting does not fix your weight long term. Dieting does not address the reasons that you have weight to lose. A diet to your body is a financial consolidation loan to your finances. It brings you a bit of relief. It cuts down all the interest. It stops it from going up so much. It gives you some temporary relief. But you have not changed. Your spending habits haven't changed. And with your body, when you get to the end of a diet, when you get to the weight you want to be, if you have a choice, you either keep following whatever diet it is you're following, but one that's probably making you miserable and you don't want to count sins or points or whatever it is for the rest of your life, or go back to normal. Problem is, the normal, where that's the same eating habits, the same coping strategies, the same balance that led you to want to lose weight in the first place. Diet ends, weight returns. Weight returns, start dieting again. It's a never-ending, it's like an infinite feedback loop. We need to stop trying to force our weight to come down. We need to look at what made it go up. Now, let's bring this back to the finance thing again. So you can deliberately try and force your weight to come down. Or, sorry, we're doing finances. You can deliberately try to make your debt come down. You can fight tooth and nail to change it. It's down to 29.5 grand now from 30. Next month it's back up to 30 again. Or you can look at the reason that you're in debt. I need to stop going to Costa and spending £8 every morning, 5 days a week. We're going to save that, and it's going to be a treat on a Friday. There's £32 a week saved that we're no longer spending. In fact, I'm at my computer, so I can do 32 times 52. That's a saving of, that's £1,664 less being spent every year. Instead of going out on a Friday night and a Saturday night and spending £150 each night, I'm just going to go out one night and spend £150. £7,800 saved every year. You notice the person's no longer, they're not doing the thing. They're looking at where they're doing too much and scaling it back. Still going to Costa, they're just saving it for a treat on a Friday. Still going out for a meal and drinks, they're just not doing it 2 days a week. I know these are daft examples, but you can transfer it to anything. Instead of spending £800 a month on clothes, I'm going to spend £400 a month on clothes. What's that? £4,800 a year. You start making those changes, and by the end of a year, your debt has come down by whatever the heck I said it was. Your debt's come down by 15 grand. The exact same applies to your body. Where am I doing too much? Where am I leaning too heavily? Now, I know that sounds very simplistic. Okay, well, and if you strip that all the way back, you could go so far as to say, so what you're saying is just eat less. And it's not about that, right? There are situations that do need work. These are the things that I work on with people. People who emotionally eat, who stress eat, who use food to cope. But then there are many occasions where people are just being very careless. They're not planning any food. They're grazing all day. They have a snacky type approach. They drink alcohol they choose to drink alcohol multiple times per week, knowing that it's hundreds, potentially thousands of calories, depending what they're drinking, knowing that when they are under the influence, they'll crack open packets of crisps or packets of nuts, or they'll phone takeaways. There are people who are avoiding doing the weekly shop at the weekend, which means they have a week of grab and go after. They end up spending a fortune on food, and it ends up being very high calorie. There are dozens of things that are 100% within your control to change your weight. In fact, everything's within your control. However, there are things that are more difficult than others, and this is when I come back to things like emotional eating, stress eating, using food to cope, things like that. Those are the ones that are a bit more difficult. But there are plenty of things where you have complete control and you can make a decision and say, do you know what? Instead of doing that, I'm going to do this. And then the more of those choices you make, and the more of those choices that are the ones that contributed to your weight, the more your weight comes down without you even trying, in the same way that it went up without you deliberately trying. But the difference is, because you are changing as a person along the way, that's how the weight stays lost. So stop thinking of your weight as something that you're trying to get somewhere and keep somewhere, right? Start thinking of, I need to change the way that I live, and use your weight as an indicator for that. My weight is 15 stone right now, because I am living like a 15 stone version of myself. What are all the food and or drink related habits that I have, that I perform on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that are keeping my weight at this level? And then you work on some of them. And, you might not get all the way to the weight that you want to be, but let's say that you work on those things and by the end of a year, you're down to 13 stone. You got there by making the changes that matter. And then you stay at 13 stone for a year and you decide you don't want to be 13 stone anymore. So you analyse your life again and you say, okay, what further changes do I need to make? And you make some more and you come down to 12 stone. So your weight is an outward reflection of the way that you're living, of the way that you're taking care of yourself. And then maybe you get to 12 stone and after that you struggle, because you've changed all the stuff that you could change by yourself, but now the thing that you think holding you back is your emotional eating, your comfort eating, using food to cope, using food for stress relief. And then you say, okay, I'm going to go and work with Jason and I'm going to go get help with those things. And then maybe we get you down to 10 stone. So your weight is not just one commodity that you just tackle and deal with all at once. It came from a variety of places. So you need to fix a variety of things if you ever want to make a long-term meaningful change to your weight. I think we'll leave that there. That was pretty good, pretty concise, pretty on topic. Until next time.